it again. We're going back to Omaha. And it's on to the College World Series Final. The 2015 National Champions.
Welcome into the latest edition of 1186, the podcast, the official podcast of the University of Virginia baseball program. And we have hit the halfway point of the regular season. The Hoos 21-4 overall, 6-3 in the ACC. They will take a 6-game winning streak to Durham this weekend to face the Blue Devils of Duke in a pivotal ACC Coastal Division matchup. We are joined, as we are each week, by Scott Fitzgerald, Andrew Ramspacker, and joined once again by the godfather of 1186, the podcast, Brian O'Connor, the head baseball coach at UVA. We're sorry to interrupt you. I know you're taking copious notes here, but we just rattled off the resume, 21-4 overall, 6-3 in the ACC, coming off the sweep at Pitt and then the win against Richmond at home, going to Durham. Your assessment at this halfway point of where your ball club is right now?
The Godfather, huh?
I mean, it's like, I mean, it seems pretty appropriate, right?
Really? Okay.
This whole podcast was your idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Or was it yours, Scott?
David,
mutual credit.
We're, we've played 25 games. Any season in college baseball, anytime you can win 20 games before you've lost 5, it puts you in a pretty great position coming close to the midway point. We'll be, after the series at Duke this weekend, we will have played half of our games in the season. So just really proud of our club. It hasn't been easy, certainly. Winning college baseball games, no matter what year, it's not easy. But we found a way. Certainly our pitching staff's been a little bit dinged up at times this year. And, I've just been really proud of our offensive ball club. We've just been relentless up until this point. When we've fallen behind, the amount of come from behind victories that we've had is really an incredible quality to have as a team. And, we feel like we're not out of any game, even if we fall behind, and have an ability to score runs from anywhere in the lineup. So it's been a lot of fun with this group. They're high energy. They've really picked each other up. And, I really liked what we did this last weekend at Pitt. Hey, listen, sweeping a series on the road in this league, we all know, covering Virginia baseball these years, it doesn't happen very often. And just really proud of our guys. I think our pitching really had a really great weekend. We got quality starts in all 3 games. We had good guys that pitched well out of the bullpen. And so, we're doing great, and looking forward to this weekend down at Duke. Duke's got another really good club. We all remember, they were here last year in the Super Regional and had a great club last year, and this year's no different. They seem to be very well balanced, really good offense. I think they've hit as many, if not more, home runs than anybody in the league, and have some guys in their lineup that can run, and have a really deep pitching staff. So a great challenge in front of us this weekend, and we're looking forward to that opportunity.
Oak, are you at all surprised in how you've gotten to the 21 wins? I mean, if you look at the numbers, so it's 14 comeback victories. You guys have trailed in 18 of the 25 games, and you've overcome deficits of 4 runs or more 4 times. I mean, have you kind of put that in perspective, and has that happened before?
Well, it hasn't happened before in my time as a college coach to have that many. You might have that many in an entire season, but in 25 games, it's kind of unheard of. And I just keep reminding the team what a great quality it is. It shows their character. It shows that they don't feel sorry for themselves. They don't point fingers. They just say, what's next, right? And within the game. And that's so important because, we all know the game is built around failure. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of failure in the game. And how quickly can you as a player and as a team put that behind you? And so what a awesome quality to have as a player, as a team, as a person, right? They're going to be dealing with that for the rest of their life, disappointment, and how do they pick themselves back up and get back in the fight. And that's what I've been really, really proud of our club for, that, no matter what happens, they've stayed poised, they stayed on point, and they've been rewarded for that. And I didn't know the details of those stats, Fitz, but that's pretty remarkable. And you just feel like, even though you fall behind, our guys are going to put up great at bats. The next pitcher that's going to come in does the job and holds the game. And, that's what I've seen recently out of our pitching staff that is so important, is that when we put up runs, that next inning we put up a 0. And, if you do that, you can gain momentum in a game and be in a great situation. So I can't explain it. Certainly the depth and the quality of the lineup has a lot to do with it. And, we got a lot of really good hitters in our lineup that can do a lot of different things. And you just feel like, you're always one swing away from being right back in it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you wear an Apple Watch during games?
I do, yes.
Do you ever check the heart rate at all during those and see where it is when you're having to mount these rallies?
I don't, but maybe I should. It's on there for a reason, right?
Interesting.
It is. I just obviously, having done this for a number of years and seen so many things that happen in a game and throughout a season in college baseball, I don't get too uptight about it. Where I do get a little hot is if we're not playing the game the right way. If we're not communicating, if we're not doing the fundamentals of the game the right way. If we're doing the fundamentals the right way and we're just not executing a pitch or, not getting a big hit, that's the game, But so, great question, but I don't look at it. Maybe as these years add up, it's definitely, I don't know if I can get any more gray hairs, but falling behind is certainly adds to it.
But how have you talked about, we've talked earlier on this podcast in the past about your evolution as a coach and your 20 plus years here. How would a Brian O'Connor in year 1 handle giving up a grand slam in the first inning, like what happened Tuesday night, as opposed to maybe how you handled it Tuesday night with your team that eventually rallied and came back and won?
Would have handled it much differently. There would have been a lot of yelling and screaming. It's just over the years, I believe that your players take on the personality of your coaches, right? And you're the leader. You've got to lead by example. Now, don't get me wrong, Andrew. Sometimes those players need us to challenge them. Whether it's you go to the mound and challenge an individual player, you challenge an individual player because that's why they came here, right? They came here because they wanted to be at their best, and they need to be reminded when they are not doing the things it takes for them to be successful. And there's some tough coaching moments at times, but that's where growth happens. You can't, as a coach at this level, in certain situations, just sit there and say, hey, it'll be okay. Everything will be fine to work out, because those sometimes are opportunities for growth, for them to learn, and they need to be challenged. That's why they came here. They came here because they wanted to be the best that they can possibly be as a player and as a person. So there's certainly moments, and I have my moments, and those are coaching moments that are opportunities for them to grow and learn. But overall, I've learned that the calmer warrior wins out. And that said, there's moments that are learning opportunities for them as well.
You mentioned some of the injuries to the pitching, and we can get into that in a little bit. But beyond that, which obviously you can't see coming, have there been any developments through these first 25 games that maybe caught you by surprise you didn't see coming with this team? Like Ferentz, for instance, turning into Joe DiMaggio or Babe Ruth at the plate. Anything like that?
Well, one thing that, Damon, is I'd like to see a rule change that you can actually bat 11 or 12 players in the lineup, because, we've got 11, 12 guys that play regularly that are all hitting over 300 and are all great options. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to change the rules.
They're worse problems to have, though, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, that's a great problem to have. And it's been fun to watch that evolve over this year. But, Jacob Ferenc has been a big shot to our lineup for sure. Bobby Whalen, those two guys, the emergence of Harrison Didewick and Casey Sauke having a great year. Henry Godbout's having a great year. Henry Ford as a true freshman. There's just a lot of guys. We thought Jacob Ferenc would do some really great things for us. He had by far more home runs this fall than anybody on our club, and he showed a high ability to hit the ball at the ballpark. Bobby Whalen's just tough kid. He's a fierce competitor, knows who he is. That's such a key thing for a player to know. What are their qualities and what makes them special, right? They all have individual qualities and they're not all the same, but knowing who you are as a player and making that the best you can be is really important, and not trying to be somebody that you're not. And that's Bobby Whalen, and he's been an incredible spark plug for us. So those two guys as new players have been a really I wouldn't say surprise, because in the fall we knew what their ability was, but then to do it with the lights on in this league is impressive.
Those two guys are obviously the latest examples of success stories in finding guys in the transfer portal. What I mean, as much as you want to share, what's kind of the program's process in terms of evaluating guys in the portal so you can find guys who can step into those roles like that?
Well, it's these are the rules now, and I believe it's a good rule, right? That players can maximize their opportunities, and so we have used it here at the University of Virginia just to kind of supplement our roster. We have been successful over the years by the development of the high school player. Bringing a highly projectable player here, whether it's a position player or pitcher, putting them into our development system and allowing them to grow within that system. Harrison Didewick's a great example of that, right? Played 85% of the time last year, did a really nice job, got stronger, and now is one of the best players in this league. So that said, because of the transfer portal, I don't care who you are, what sport you are, you're going to have more players leave your program than you used to have. And that's because they can easily leave now and go to another place and play right away. And if they want to play and they're not playing where they're currently at, they're probably going to make that move. So there's going to be more spots open. And we have made the decision here at Virginia to fill those spots intentionally with players that play that position or fill a need that's been vacated. And so that's what we did with Ferenc. That's what we did with Bobby Whalen when we lost Johnny Farmillo, a great high school prospect that was drafted in the first round by the Mariners from Northern Virginia. We immediately ran out and who was the center fielder, who immediately ran out and got Bobby Whalen. Jacob Ferenc, we had a need behind the plate with the departure of Kyle Teal. We knew we were going to transition Ethan Anderson, but we had a need there and we were intentional with it. You're always going to have a need on the mound, and we're going to do that every year. So, at this point, it might not necessarily be the biggest name out there in the transfer market, but it's more a fit for what we need on our roster and young men that profile for our academic institution.
When it comes to Ferenc, I think when that news first came out, right, that he was coming to your program, I think people looked at numbers, said good player, but they also see he coming from a Division II program. Yeah. How did you guys evaluate that piece of it and him stepping up to, it's one thing to come from obviously, a a non-Power 5 school or something like that. But the jump a division, what did you see in him potentially that could allowed you guys the confidence to think that he could excel at this level as well?
Well, I give all the credit to Coach Mack. He identified him early. We have a team in our office that monitors the transfer portal, right? Young coaches in our program that want to eventually move on and be full-time coaches, and we're monitoring that portal all the time, and not necessarily looking for the biggest name, but who fits our need. And Jacob was that guy. Coach Mack found him, stayed on him, evaluated a lot of video, talked to him, and I was blown away. I had a conversation this summer with Jacob, and just was asking him some tough questions to make sure that he was the right fit for what we do. And he knocked it out of the park like he is right now on the field, and his answers to the question and the fiber of who he is as a person was definitely in line. And what he shows is that there's great baseball being played at a lot of different levels, right? And you're seeing this across the country of Power 5 schools having non-Division I players come to their program and make impact. When you're a 22, 23-year-old and you've been in college baseball, I don't care what level it is, you're an experienced, good player. And Jacob Ferentz broke the home run record at Salisbury. You think about that's impressive. Doesn't matter what level it is. You got to square the ball up. You got to know what you're doing. And so, he's got a good arm, physical body, all those kind of things. And so it was a great fit for us. And, that's an avenue we'll continue to look at is, not only Division I, but, who is that high level Division II player that can do it at this level and is aligned with what we need in our program and at our university.
Oh, we've talked about this before with, some of our broadcast partners, but runs are up. So do you have even the past 3 years, balls are flying out of the ballpark. UVA this year is averaging almost 11 runs a game. Is there what's involved in that, do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot involved in it, Fitz. First for our fans out there, so they have a full understanding about what is TrackMan, right? TrackMan started off as a development technology, which is still what it is. We have it in our stadium, and then we have a portable TrackMan that we have in our bullpen to monitor pitchers. And what it does is it's a technology system that monitors the velocity. It's what registers the velocity on our scoreboard for the fans. It monitors spin rate. It monitors exit velo, launch angle, everything to do with what a hitter does on the ball off the bat and what a pitcher does in throwing a pitch, right? And so it's used on a daily basis in the development of a player, but then it is morphed into also it monitors the strike zone. So, for example, after ACC weekends, the umpires get their TrackMan score of how many strikes did they call that were actually in the strike zone, and which pitches were actually out of the strike zone that they called a strike, or which pitches in the strike zone did they call a ball. So there's basically an efficiency rating for an umpire. And so last year in the SEC, this started in them evaluating their umpires on their strike zone percentages. Well, this year that's being done in the ACC too, right? And those reports are sent out. And so what I believe with all the games being on television and a TrackMan score for an umpire, those umpires now, they do a phenomenal job, but they now are, I believe, calling a true strike zone, where back in the day, 10 years ago, You used to sometimes be able to get strike 3 on a fastball away that would be 9 inches off the plate. Well, you're not seeing that anymore. So you're seeing I believe in college baseball, a truer strike zone that's closer to the major league strike zone. We all watch major league games and you see the box that is up there on the television broadcast. Well, that's essentially what this is. At the major league level, their system is called Hawkeye. That's in all the major league stadiums. But in college baseball, it's TrackMan or Yocker Tech. And so not only is it a development system, it also, spits out an efficiency rating for the umpire on balls and strikes. So, Fitz, I think there's a lot of reasons that we're seeing so many runs scored in college baseball.
I mean, you don't see the numbers on a Friday night like we've seen like across the league. SEC, ACC.
Yeah, you're seeing it across the college baseball. You're seeing 10-run rule effect on Friday nights sometimes. And you used to never see that. You'd see a 3-2, 4-3, 4-1 ball game. And so I'm not saying that's because of the strike zone. I think that's part of it. You have to throw the ball over the plate now to get outs and get strikes. But also, too, I think a big part of it is the development of the hitters, right? Our hitters can go out on the field and face pitching machines, face an iPitch machine that can you can basically put the information in there of the Friday night starter that you're going to see against a team in the conference. And so they are hitting now in the indoor facility and out on the field real stuff off of pitching machine that 10 years ago you could never replicate, right? I mean, I remember, back in 2009 when we faced Strasburg, right? When it was announced in the NCAA tournament that we were facing Strasburg. Well, the first thing Coach Mack did right after that announcement is he put our hitters in the batting cage against an iron mic machine that would throw rubber balls and told everybody to move 10 feet closer to it to replicate the velocity. Well, now that's all replicated every day off these high-tech pitching machines. So the hitters are used to seeing great stuff every day in their development. And technology as well, everybody through what we call the Synergy system that all college baseball programs have access to, you can go on your computer and watch every pitch that a pitcher throws before they face him. And it spits out percentages on what pitches they throw in certain counts with nobody on, with runners in scoring position, and all of college baseball has access to that information. So technology has helped bring us to this point that, everybody can prepare differently than they can before. So I think there's a lot of factors that have attributed to the runs being scored. Hey, guys are bigger, stronger, and more physical than they used to be too. I mean, let's look at our first baseman, Henry Ford. He is a full-grown man as a freshman here at the University of Virginia. Back in the day, you wouldn't see players like that until they were 21 or 22. So there's a lot of things going on to it. It's interesting. It's kind of the reverse of what you're seeing in the major leagues, right? You're seeing the home runs at the major leagues because the hitters are trying to do that. But anymore in the major leagues, once you get to the 6th inning, it's hard to score a run because every guy they're bringing out of the bullpen is throwing the ball 100 miles an hour. So it's interesting. It's fun for the fans. There's a lot of runs being scored. It puts you on the edge of your seat. And also, as a coach, you feel like you're never out of any game.
As a former pitcher, though, how do you feel? How would you have felt if when you were on the mound, the guy stepping into the box was stepping in with the amount of knowledge that these guys have now?
And before you answer that question, can you explain the eye pitch thing that you just talked about? You can input information like their style of pitches and everything else.
Like how hard they throw,
how hard they throw in it.
That's one version. There's different machines out there. There's some pretty high tech ones where you can actually put the data in there of the pitcher you're facing, his fastball velocity, slider velocity, the movement of it from TrackMan, the data of it, and then you can replicate it off a machine.
What would yours look like? The Brian O'Connor.
It wouldn't be very good. It'd be 88 to 91, a little bit of a sinking fastball, a slider that backs up sometimes. It would have been pretty average stuff, you know. In today's day and age, it'd be below average, you know. So, you know, it's really amazing. Damon, I don't know. I probably would have had to trick him a lot more than I had to as a college pitcher. Throw more 3-1 sliders, 3-2 sliders. You know, you're seeing it. I mean, you know, the Saturday starter for Wake Forest, who really pitched great against us, who I believe is the best pitcher in college baseball, Burns. You know, he's throwing 3-1 and 3-2 sliders and breaking balls, right? And to keep the hitter off balance, because, you know, he knows that if he just stands up there, even though the fastball might be 97 to 100, that hitters are trained now to hit it.
The TrackMan stuff is amazing. It's even kind of entered its way into the TV broadcast and whatnot. I mean, I sit here watching games with the dashboard, and it has a little square for the strike zone, and you're almost trained now. It's like everybody oohs and ahs after the ball outside or the ball low. Is that a strike? Was that a strike? And a lot of the broadcasters, when they come into UVA or we go to other places, hey, can I get the TrackMan dashboard so I can see where the strike zone is and the exit velos off of hitters and the spin rates? So when you hear people on the broadcast or hear the announcers on the broadcast, yeah, that ball was 450 feet to center field. That's directly off that TrackMan stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's really entered everywhere.
It's changed the game. It's changed the game from a development standpoint, certainly in the everyday development of baseball players. But then for the fan experience, right? It's changed. You know, to watch a major league broadcast, watch a college broadcast. It used to be a big deal 10 years ago to have the velocity on the scoreboard, and when that started to come in, everybody was like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome! Great experience for the fans!" Right? Now, you know, I think it's really added to the game a lot, you know, that the exit velocity, the launch angle, a lot of people don't understand spin rate and things like that, you know, but to understand the velocity and all those kind of things add to the broadcast and the enjoyment of the fan, you know, because let's be honest, young people and all of us are attached to this nowadays, and the technology of everything and the power of information. And I think it's really, really added to the game. And it wouldn't surprise me if you continue to see more of it as we move forward.
Going back to where things stand now this season, before we get into going to Duke, we were talking about this before we got started, before you hopped on, but that weekend at Miami, you have those two tough losses to open that series, but then you find a way to hold on and scratch and claw and win that last game and just get out of there with that one win. How significant, given the way, I know at the time you talked about the significance of it, but now given the way things have unfolded in the weekend since, how big do you think it was just to get that taste in your mouth, get that win and not get swept there and just kind of get moving in a positive direction again?
Damon, I'm glad you brought that up. Biggest win of the year by far on that Sunday, because let me tell you something. This league, in the Power 5 leagues, sometimes if you go on the road and win one game, that can be a big accomplishment, right? Because you know the other team gives scholarships too, right? And they care about their baseball program too. But how we won that game after the first two games, having the lead and giving up the lead and losing the games, to be able to find a way to win that Sunday game really defined our team on the type of character and the type of young men that we have. And I tell the players all the time, you get 30 of these league games, right? You just don't know which one is going to make the difference between you winning the league in the regular season, between you getting into the NCAA tournament, being a top 8 national seed. So they are all, when you lose one, you got to put it behind you, because tomorrow matters just as much as yesterday or the next one the next day. And we just take an approach of, we have 30 of these and they're all won individual games. Yes. Are they a series, and would you like to win the series? Yes. Okay. But in this league, it's so hard to win on the road. It's hard to win at home too. But, when you have a chance to win a game, to get it done is critically important. And I felt like that was so far in this season, that was a pretty defining moment for us.
So now moving forward, I know with the injuries to the pitching staff, you've been in this spot before. Maybe I can't recall a time maybe to this extent dealing with injuries, but injury creates opportunity for other guys. What's kind of the plan now moving forward with the pitching staff, and who are some of those candidates to maybe step into these roles and emerge and maybe take advantage of these opportunities?
Yeah, well, hey, you guys know, you've followed us for years and years, that like injuries are part of the game. Everybody every team encounters them, right? And trust me, college baseball doesn't feel sorry for us, right? What it does is it creates new opportunity for players, maybe more opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have gotten. And you really find out what guys are made of. And then sometimes when you're going through an injury spell, because more players get an opportunity, and then when players return that get back to be healthy, it creates more depth and a better situation. You all know, you guys were in the movie, right? You all know 2015 that the injuries that we had that year and how we held it together. And then when we got guys back, how much stronger we were. And at the end of that season, we were the healthiest that we were all year. And so it's part of the game, and it creates new opportunities for guys and chances for them to step up. And that's what's happened. I see what Matt Augustine, the young freshman pitcher, has done for us. He came in yesterday and threw 3 shutout innings and had a great outing for us. Chase Hungate, Angelo Tonis are pitching more now than they were, so it just creates a lot of great opportunities for guys to emerge and develop, and we'll be deeper and stronger because of it. And then we'll get some reinforcements back as we move forward, and we'll be in a better position down the stretch run.
Do you want to end this? And last time you showed us that fun 1186 card that you had in your desk. Got anything back there for show and tell this time around?
Yeah. Geez, I don't, this is my Egyptian sculpture here.
Yeah, there you go.
That my friend brought back from Egypt. This is my favorite book right now. Okay.
All right.
Recommended by Brandon Geyer.
Yeah. It's a must-have. This.
Wait a minute. What's the book about?
This one?
Well,
how do you pronounce it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Arte.
Arte.
It's awesome. It's little stories, lessons, and it's awesome for coaching, and the players each have a copy, and so other than that, I don't know if I have much else back here that would be that entertaining. So sorry. You got it all.
Yeah, that's pretty good. The Egyptian thing, we might need a whole episode on. Maybe it's something.
Yeah, I got my little Excalibur sword here that my friend Freddie gave me. All kinds of different things. So
we need like an MTV Cribs episode, maybe just do the whole.
Are we allowed in Justin's office?
No, we're not allowed in Justin's office. But, we could do a little bit of a tour one of these days. There's a lot of different little artifacts in here. So,
all right, Scott, you've got the trivia question, right?
It's true. So
the hot seat.
So recently, Coach, you had your 350th ACC win, which is you're the 8th coach in ACC history to accumulate the 350 wins. Do you know who your first ACC win was against?
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. That is correct.
Wow.
A 17th ranked Georgia Tech at the time, and I believe you guys swept them.
We did. Yeah,
Yes,
and then we
swept them.
We proceeded the next weekend to sweep Clemson at home.
All right,
And-
so the follow-up question is, do you know how you won that first game?
I don't. I would imagine Casey Lambert was on the mound, but
That is
Good
correct.
memory.
yeah, I don't
He,
remember.
he earned the win. It was 3-3 going into the 8th, and this is all down at Georgia Tech. And a prominent alumni hit a 8th inning home run.
Mark Reynolds
Mark Reynolds.
There you go.
All right.
nailing them today.
And Zimmerman followed up with a single after that. So, I mean, that was a pretty good.
Oh yeah, it was a
good
base
lineup
hit the other
there.
way to right field.
I'll tell you guys, we've had a lot of defining moments in our program's history. That weekend at Georgia Tech was one of them because it kind of set the standard. Going down there, prior to going down there, the pre-conference schedule, we got off to the greatest start in the history of our program. And that obviously was our first year here. And getting the players to believe, I believe one of the players said that they had never won a series at Georgia Tech. And to go down there and sweep them, just kind of cemented to the players what we had been preaching to them all fall, all winter, and all preseason, that we can absolutely compete at the highest level in this league. And it was an incredibly powerful weekend moment in our program's history to go down there and do that. And, a lot of great performances, but one of the best decisions we made was Carl Kuhn being emphatic about Casey Lambert being our closer on that team, a freshman that ended out having the saves record all time in ACC history, and he was a fierce bulldog competitor. You had a chance to win a game, that guy was going to give you everything he had really great stuff. So. That huge weekend for us, and I'll tell you what, I'll never forget it. So,
had not won a series against them. That is correct, and UVA had not won back-to-back games against them since 1987.
wow.
Because I believe that the 3-game series play started around the early 90s, maybe late 80s. So. Yeah, so definitely not won a series against them, but hadn't won back-to-back games against them since '87. So that's pretty significant.
Fitz, it's fun, as a coach in whatever sport it is, when you put a plan together, you talk to the players a certain way every day, you get them to believe that they can accomplish anything. Certainly you have to have enough ability. And we had pretty good ability on that team that year. But to see them in their eyes and to realize that this can be done is incredibly rewarding. It's awesome, and, to take young people and build them up and get them to believe they can accomplish something that maybe they didn't believe up until that point is just incredibly rewarding. Is one of the reasons that you decide to coach and get in this profession. So that first team really laid the groundwork in this program for work ethic and how to believe in each other and trust your coaches and find ways to win in what is arguably the best college baseball conference, one of the top 2 in the country, year in and year out.
All right, that seems like a pretty good place to wrap things up. The Who's an opportunity to make more big memories this weekend. Another pivotal series at Duke, the Who's and Blue Devils, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Want to thank Oak for taking the time to join us, the head baseball coach here on 1186 The Podcast. For Andrew, for Scott, for that email, I am Damon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on 1186 The Podcast.